back to coverage of Grand Prix Philadelphia. We're in day 2. This is Return to Ravnica Draft, round 13. My name is Marshall Sutcliffe. I am joined in the booth by Ben Swartz. Hi, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Great, and we're going to see a sweet one here. Owen Turtenwald versus Jon Finkel. Jon has led off with an Enter the Battlefield tapped Temple Garden for his turn 1. And Owen has a Golgari Guildgate. What is Jon's 2-drop? It is a Drudge Beetle.
Both these players on 10-2 records, so they're fighting for their top 8 contention lives here. The winner will still be in top 8 contention, looking for a 3-0 or maybe a 2-0-1 in their second draft pod. The other will be out of top 8 contention.
Wow, so this is actually essentially an elimination match when it, at least as it pertains to the top 8. They can both put up a really solid finish here, but of course these guys are both aiming for the top 8. Now we see Jon Finkel has eschewed sleeves this time. He's going old school.
Yeah, I like the feel of cardboard.
I like sleeves. All right, so Owen Turtenwald has a Karaz, the Guild Mage, and he's actually considering. Yeah, no, okay.
There's no way you block.
He picked it up for a second, but yeah, there was no way he was actually going to block with his Guild Mage. Guild Mage is a very strong card, especially in the mid to late part of the game. We see an Axebane Guardian for Jon Finkel here.
I think Axebane Guardian is sort of the dividing point for the different types of Selesnya decks. There's the really fast, aggressive Selesnya decks, and then there's this more slower, maybe more populaty type.
Yep.
Where you get to cast big cards like Horncaller's Chant.
That's right. Owen Turtenwald just attacked very quickly with his Karaz, the Guild Mage, right into the Axebane Guardian. Jon Finkel decided not to block. Apparently that mana is important to him. He has plans for it, and he doesn't want to lose his Axebane Guardian to just like a pump spell or something.
No, I mean, the Guild Mage can just pump itself and kill the
that's true, because he
Guardian.
did drop his land before attacks. Good point, Ben. So actually it was just a free attack, basically. And then Owen follows up with his own Axebane Guardian. Pretty good with the Guild Mage. You can make 4 1/1s with it.
Sure.
Which is a lot better, you know, at certain parts of the game than an 0-3 that makes mana.
I think what's more important to see is that Owen is in a Jund deck, and he's going to get a lot of value out of that Axebane Guardian, but Jon Finkel adds another defender creature.
And it looks like he's also not sticking to just 2 colors.
Looks like he's Bant.
Yep, so far. He's added a Gatecreeper Vine to his battlefield. And he's just going to go ahead and play the island and tap mana. Remember, that thing taps for 2 now, so he gets to play a 4-drop, and it's a Towering Indrik.
Okay.
So a nice turn for Jon Finkel.
I mean, the fact that all of Jon Finkel's creatures are green makes the Intimidate ability of Karaz the Guild Mage a little less powerful, depending on what colored creatures Owen has, right? If Owen continues to have green or green X creatures, giving the creature +1/+1 obviously helps, but the Intimidate does not do too much.
That's right. Another good point. You're on fire today.
Owen, looking through his hand, can still see the remnants of his Manicure.
It's like a Thrill Kill Assassin.
That one with Intimidate,
Unleash.
however.
That can get through. Unfortunately, it's only a 1/2 since he did not unleash it. It would be a 2/3 if it got Intimidate, but that's not a particularly impressive clock for the amount of mana that Owen needs to commit to that card. Owen's got 3 mana available, so combat tricks are certainly an option here. Looks like a Seller of Songbirds and an Azorius Guildgate for Jon Finkel.
It's interesting to see that Owen had access to 5 mana last turn, and the best he could muster up was the Thrill Kill Assassin.
Or was
mana.
it?
Oh.
Nope, he's got an Augur Spree in hand as well, and he's going to use it to take out the Towering Indrik on to end step.
Wow, that's really good.
We mentioned this yesterday. One of his strengths is sequencing out his plays. He rarely makes mistakes in that category, and as we can see, he's used up every bit of mana every turn here, and he plays a Golgari Longlegs.
That one, again, not so powerful with Intimidate, but the 5/4 body is good against Jon Finkel's entire team. He'd have to trade off multiple of his guys in order to trade with the Golgari Longlegs.
That's right. Now Jon attacks in with his lonely bird token there up in the sky, plays the land, and
wow,
he's got a Vitu-Ghazi Guild Mage here, and as you can see, he's already got mana to make a Centaur this turn if he wants.
Man, Owen needs to get rid of that card and very quickly, or else it's going to take over the game single-handedly. I mean,
Owen probably just took a little glance at that Augur Spree sitting in his graveyard. Kind of a bummer.
Yeah, the fact that John can end of turn, create a 3/3 Centaur, untap, and populate twice is just going to be huge. Owen does not want to let John Finkel untap with that Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage, but I'm not sure what he has to deal with it.
No matter what, Finkel's going to get value out of it, but how much is the question? Because like you mentioned, getting the double populate is basically going to put a hammerlock on this game. John says, I'll put my Cellar of Songbirds in front of your Golgari Longlegs. And, all right, so this is the question right here.
End of turn, I'm going to create a 3/3.
All right, he does have an answer. He's got Izzet Charm to take out the Guildmage. Pretty aggressive having an Izzet Charm in his Jund deck.
How many colors is Owen running?
4 so far, and it does take out the Guildmage. Now, that ability, though, to make the token was already on the stack, and it's still going to resolve. So John does get something out of the transaction. He just doesn't get to untap and go crazy here.
Yeah, I mean, being able to pump out those 3/3s is just so powerful. John just likely does not need to cast another spell, and it's going to be tough for Owen to deal with, 2 3/3s every single turn.
Yeah, there's no way, especially since John is sitting at 18 life, that Owen could deal with that without something like a board sweeper, like a Mizzium Mortars or something crazy.
Although Owen does have access to the mana to cast Mizzium Mortars.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think that he would have cast it a little while ago if he had it. He would have cast it this most previous turn. John here thinking about what's going on. He was really banking on that Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage to just take over the game.
Right now he does still have a clock going. It's just a very, very slow one with just the bird token getting in there. 15-turn clock doesn't really count.
I mean, he can get in with a Centaur here. But, I mean, I doubt Owen wants to block with either of his creatures, and he can't really profitably block and pump up one of his guys who's in the Krosta Guildmage. But then if you look at the crackback, Owen can get in with his Golgari Longlegs again. And what's Finkel going to do? Chump block with his Beetle? There
Owen could consider blocking the Centaur with his Thrill Kill Assassin, which really isn't going to attack very well.
Yeah, but do you really want to throw away your 1/2 Death Touch for just a 3/3 token? If you're afraid of Populate from John, definitely.
That's why you would do it if you did. The problem, of course, is that if John already has a Populate card that's an instant in his hand, then that doesn't really get him anywhere anyway. But it does prevent future draws from being better.
Sure.
I mean, that Thrill Kill Assassin's not doing much anyway. He's kind of, I guess, waiting for some big drop to come down. But all right, so John has an Azorius Justiciar here, and it looks like it's going to detain the Guildmage, and he very carefully picks out the Thrill Kill Assassin as well. Owen deciding whether that actually happens or not.
The Justiciar is just off the screen.
It is just off screen next to the Centaur there, but it's going to be a 2/2 Justiciar there.
So does Owen want to use that Krosta Guildmage right now? Looks like he's going to sacrifice the Golgari Longlegs to the Krosta Guildmage and make a bunch of guys.
Now we see Owen turn his Guildmage and his Thrill Kill Assassin upside down. That is just his way of indicating that it's detained.
So now, if John wants to get in, Owen can triple block the Centaur here. Okay.
Yep, looks like that's what he's doing.
That'll let Owen take 3 and put him down to 12. Let's see what else Owen has up his sleeve.
I kind of like that upside down on camera. It's nice to see that. All right, so he's going to play a Spawn of Rixmati. Doesn't look like he's going to unleash it, or maybe he will. Yep, he does. So he's got a 6/4. And
he wants to unleash it because he's likely going to be able to attack in once, make John Finkel either chump block or trade off with one of his guys, and then if he chump blocks, then he can sacrifice it to the Guildmage and make four more Saprolings.
You mean if he goes for a trade?
No. If John just chump blocks, then afterwards he can at end of turn make 4 more Saprolings.
I see.
And be able to block profitably and then attack in again.
I mean, even as the board sits, though, John doesn't have like great attacks here.
No, all he can really do is attack in with his bird here, and he'll continue bringing the beats in the air. But 1 damage a turn seems tough against the gigantic creatures that Owen has been able to create.
And Jon Finkel says go. Owen gets his draw step. He is untapped. He still has that Guild Mage. Now maybe that Thrill Kill Assassin is going to start getting in there for damage at some point. Also, can he just give the spawn of Rixmati Intimidate if he wants?
Yeah, he could.
And it can get in because it's red and black, and currently Jon Finkel has no red and black creatures. It would have been a 3-turn clock there, but it looks like, oh, maybe he said before blocks. I don't know if he's gonna. I think he's just attacking with it.
I mean, let's look at Jon Finkel's box. He can.
I mean, he could double block with the Azorius Justiciar and the Beetle, or he can just.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't make too much sense because then Owen could pump and destroy both of Jon's creatures.
That's right. So that doesn't do anything here. So instead, he's just going to put the Beetle in front.
Post-combat, Owen goes ahead and plays a Xanakev Locust. Haven't seen too much of that guy. The 6-mana 3/3 flyer is not necessarily where you want to be.
No, he's really sweet if you can get him in your graveyard because his Scavenge is only 4 mana and it's 3 counters. But play him on board, he's a little less exciting. But still, he's going to do good work here.
Yeah, it's going to be good for Owen. If he's got another land in hand, he can sacrifice the Locust to make 3 Saprolings and then scavenge it onto something else. 1-2 punch, but looks like Owen has overwhelming presence here in this game.
Is that a Magic card?
It is, but
sounds like one.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I think it might be. It's also a useful description of the board state here. All right, so it looks like we're going to see a scavenge here, and it's going to go on the bird. Jon is he's got a 4-turn clock with that bird, but he's going to need to find something else, I think, because I think Owen's going to be able to kill him.
Owen has a 3-turn clock with his spawn.
Mm-hmm. Plus, Owen can just trade off his Locust for the bird anytime he wants, so that's not a consistent clock for Jon. All right, he is going to battle with it, though.
Does Owen want to trade?
I'd expect to see a block here.
Yep.
Yeah, he does, in fact, just trade it off. Jon could have had a Swift Justice or... Well, he could have actually any number of spells since he still has his Axebane Guardian, but he could have had a pump spell there, but he didn't use it if he did.
So now it's Owen's turn. 7 mana at his disposal.
Yeah, he can pile on a bunch of counters with his Xanakev Locust onto one of his creatures to attack. He's got a 1/2 Death Touch Thrill Kill Assassin. He's also got just the 1/1 Saproling sitting there. He can also just give his spawn of Rixmati Intimidate and +1/+1 with his Guild Mage and just bash. He could also just attack with it. It does give Jon the opportunity to chump block, especially with cards like Gatecreeper Vine. But
yep, Owen's going to give Intimidate and attack in with both of his guys.
Now, did he pump 1 each?
I believe so. I'd have to imagine, right? Like,
yeah.
There's no real reason to attacking that Thrill Kill Assassin into the Azorius Justiciar.
Yeah.
You could just block the 1/2, but...
Okay, so it looks like, you know, they each have taken it, and Jon takes a big chunk there.
Going down to 9 life, I believe.
I think so. He's definitely not at 19. There we go, at 9. Owen Turtenwald sitting at a pretty comfortable 11, facing down. Just no pressure from Jon at this moment. Looks like Jon has a Detention Sphere.
4 mana.
It's 5 mana. He's got
okay.
Yeah, he's got a Knightly Valor. So he gets a 2/2 Knight token, and he makes his Justiciar a 4/4 with Vigilance. That's a good start. He's going to attack with a 4/4, and Owen says, you know what, I'm just going to conserve my life total here and throw away 1 lowly Saproling token.
I mean, Owen has put Jon effectively dead on board because of the spawn and the Intimidate and the Scavenge, but Detention Sphere, like you said, takes out the Kruzda Guildmage.
Right, and now that's interesting because even though Guildmage wasn't the thing that was actually doing the attacking, it was the thing that was enabling it, and Jon has the ability to block the spawn of Rixmati a couple of times here while he gets in damage with his 4/4.
Not only does he have the opportunity to block, but Owen has to use that scavenge, or else the Justiciar trades off with the Spawn of Rixmati.
Oh, true.
So if he scavenges here, then even if Jon Finkel double blocks, that won't take it out. But he's just going to attack in with his 6/4.
I expect the Gate Creeper Vine will probably bite it here.
Well,
if John, I mean, would you trade if you were John?
You have to think where. I don't know what's in John's hand, but you have to think where you'll be in the next couple turns. Is it good to trade off both our big creatures? Am I going to have the advantage in that game?
It looks like that's what John decided, and that's probably just because of the Thrill Kill Assassin. He wants to get value from that Justiciar while it's on the table and huge, because otherwise it's just going to trade for a Thrill Kill or sit there and do nothing.
Oh, wow. Daggerdrome Imp. Building a Baneslayer is what Owen might do on his following turn.
Yes, he has a foundation.
He does have a foundation. And unfortunately, he couldn't scavenge on his turn because he only has access to 2 black. And the scavenge on the Zanikev Locust in his graveyard is 2 and 2 black. So that's what he's going to do right here. Building a Baneslayer, 4/4, flying, lifelink on the Daggerdrome Imp. Drops Finkel down to 5. Owen goes up to 15. And now John needs an answer. He still has 2 turns left. At 5 life, and the Daggerdrome, a 4-power creature.
He just plays land and says go. And again, Owen's going to bash in there for 4. He's going to bring John all the way down to 1 and bring himself back to 19.
Does Finkel have a way to deal with it?
Judgment in his hand?
If it is, that'd be one way back into this game. And nope,
it's not. So Jon Finkel is defeated in game 1 here by Owen Turtenwald. That was a pretty good game, though. Lots of back and forths there. John was struggling to find his foothold for the duration. He finally did, but Owen had a mini Baneslayer Angel to finish off.
Wow, that was really well sequenced by Owen. He put Jon Finkel dead on board because of the Spawn of Rixmati, the Scavenge, and the Corrosive Guildmage, forcing John to use the Detention Sphere on the Guildmage, and then forcing him to trade off his big creature with the Spawn of Rixmati to have a chance in the game. But little did John know, Owen stole the Daggerdrome Imp, and because he didn't need to use Scavenge, he was able to build a Baneslayer at the end of the game and take it down.
Yeah, so he managed those resources quite well. And it looks like both players are bringing in at least a couple of cards here.
Both players former Player of the Years?
Yeah.
Owen's a little more recent than John's, but
that's right.
John, on the other hand, top-8'd 2 of the last 3 Pro Tours. And got into the top 4 of the Players' Championship in Seattle.
That's right.
Just a few months ago.
I got to say, John's deck didn't look amazing. You know, he had a Detention Sphere, which was pretty sweet, but it looked like it was pretty spread out on the colors, and, you know.
It looked solid. I mean, I wouldn't be unhappy with his deck. I think it'd be like more of a 2-1 deck. Maybe not a 1-2 deck, and probably not a 3-0 deck, but right now he's at 1-1. So in order for it to be a 2-1 deck, he needs to win.
And he's got to win 2 games in a row against Owen Turtenwald.
Owen's deck, on the other hand, I don't know what to think of it. 4 colors. It's got a lot of powerful cards, but especially in this draft format, you play against a fast Rakdos deck, sort of like what we saw Luis play.
Yep.
I don't know how Owen could deal with it.
But the good news for Owen is that this is the last match that he's going to be playing with this deck, and he's not up against a fast Rakdos deck. In fact, his Axebane Guardians are going to be quite safe on the battlefield, it looks like. Interesting that Owen seems to be leaning pretty hard on those Guardians. And it doesn't look like John has too many ways to get rid of them.
I mean, that's what we saw last game. Since Owen was able to develop his colors, develop his mana, he was able to cast more and more powerful spells and use those powerful spells to dismantle Jon Finkel. Be interesting to see how the second game plays out. Maybe there was a side of Jon Finkel's deck we didn't see. Or maybe now that he knows that Owen's spread thin on mana, that maybe he wanted to use a Detention Sphere earlier on an Axebane Guardian.
Or
I mean,
maybe
probably
even
not that last game,
but yeah, probably not in that game. But it's going to be interesting to see if he does have an opening to do that. A lot of times when you have a Detention Sphere, you don't get the luxury of using it on things like Axebane Guardian. But
well, I mean, there was a Corrosive Guildmage before the Axebane Guardian.
And there always seems to be something more pertinent than the Axebane. But sometimes, you know, if Owen goes forest, you know, and he's got an Axebane, maybe you take it out.
Looks like the players are ready to draw their opening 7 for Game 2 here of Round 13 of Grand Prix Philadelphia.
John always sets one card off to the side. That's kind of his sweat. You know, you get that one.
His signature draw sequence.
Yeah. Hey, it was a pretty good one this time. It was his Detention Sphere there, yeah.
2 land in his hand, a forest and a plains, a Detention Sphere, along with some other cards. Looks like he'll be keeping. Does Owen keep his hand?
Looks like Owen's still thinking about it. He is going to keep it, even with his potentially sketchy mana base. We haven't really seen enough of his deck to know how good or bad his mana base is. I'd probably just ask him. But
John draws a Temple Garden in his turn and plays it. Another turn 2 Corrosive Guildmage for Owen.
Very good for Owen, as in John's colors, dealing with that Guildmage is pretty tall order.
And if Owen finds another creature that does not share colors with John Finkel's creatures, that Intimidate ability is going to get out of hand.
Also, we see all 3 colors plus an Axebane Guardian for Owen, so his deck is open to him. He can do whatever he needs to do. And let's see what John Finkel actually plays here.
I believe he's an Azorius Justiciar. Oh.
That is a Karazda Monitor, I believe. Okay. So that's going to be a 3/3. It's got Trample.
And Scavenge.
Scavenge for 7.
Seems a little unlikely to scavenge that guy, but we saw John Finkel has 7 mana at the end of the last game, so.
That's true. All right, Lobber Crew comes down for Owen Turtenwald, and he just says, go. So Lobber Crew is going to hold off the Monitor potentially, and also going to start dealing small chunks of damage.
Azorius Guildgate drawn for John. That was the blue mana he needed to have access to his Detention Sphere. I don't think there are any creatures that he wants to Detention Sphere right away, but it's really important for him to get that 3rd color of mana because there's other cards in blue that he wants to cast.
Right.
Monitor's going to get in there.
He's just going to attack anyway. I kind of expect Owen to block with his Lobber Crew here.
Do you want to trade your Lobber Crew for like a Swift Justice?
I think I would.
Yeah. But Owen decides to take it.
Yep.
Falls to 17 and Armory Guard for John Finkel.
I'm kind of a calling station, though. I always block. I don't want to have to deal with it later.
I mean, the way you have to think about those situations is, do you want to trade their trick spell for your guy?
For my usual early drop, I usually do. Although one thing that I didn't consider here is that the Lobber Crew does have Defender, so it's actually making more and more colors of mana with the Axebane Guardian, and that might be really important to the way that Owen wants to sequence out this game. So that probably was what was happening there. The Lobber Crew itself can be pretty important. You know, it can certainly be part of a game plan.
I think it's a lot more powerful than it seems on the face of the card. I know when I first looked at the card, I didn't think it was that great, but its synergy with other Defender cards and just being able to ping an opponent in this format is pretty important. So the Monitor gets in again.
And it looks like the Armory Guard, since it does have Vigilance here, is also going to be attacking.
Okay. I mean, if it's attacking, why wouldn't Owen put the Lobber Crew in front of it? Is he still afraid of like a Giant Growth type effect?
Apparently, he took 2 there.
Okay.
He does trade off. They both trade off their scavenge creatures here. Owen's significantly more efficient once it's in the graveyard.
And again, we see Detention Sphere on the Corrosive Guildmage.
And then after that, a Security Blockade for John Finkel.
Owen does not forget to ping John Finkel at the end of the turn with Lobber Crew, keeping a die on the top of his library to remind him.
Ooh, that's a bunch of mana, and it is a Horncollar's Chant. Wow, you mentioned that card earlier. I don't really like that card that much, but when you resolve it, it sure is sweet.
Yeah, it's really tough to beat.
Yeah, and it certainly goes much better in a deck that has Axebane Guardian plus Lobber Crew, which is now you can see why he was protecting that so much. He really wanted to get to that 8 mana as soon as possible.
Yeah, and John Finkel just used up his Detention Sphere, so dealing with 2 4/4 Tramplers is going to be tough for him.
That's right. John was in a tough spot. Long game that Krasda Guildmage is going to do a lot of work as well, but now all of a sudden he's facing down 8 power and toughness with trample. John is surveying the scene here, and he's just going to ship the turn back. We see a dice on top of Owen's deck. Is that a reminder for the Lobber crew?
Yeah.
And Scavenge is onto one of the 4/4s. That brings it up to a massive 7/7 Trampler.
It's so it can get through the Armory Guard.
That's right.
So now John has been put to a decision. It's kind of weird. Owen's been playing around in like a Giant Growth type effect the entire game, and now he's not too afraid of it. But
that's a good one. It's an Azorius Charm. It puts it on top of his library, but as we know with tokens, once they leave the battlefield, they are just gone forever. So
Lobber Crew gets in for 1 damage. End of turn.
And oh, geez, that is a treasured find.
Oh, wow.
And he got back the Horncaller's chant, so there's a lot more rhinos in the future. What happened there?
I'm not sure. Owen attacked.
Yeah, why is all of Owen's mana tapped like that? Didn't he just play the Treasured Find?
Oh, he scavenged, and then he played the Treasured Find.
Treasured Find and then scavenged. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Right, so it looks like next turn there's going to be a bunch of rhinos entering the battlefield on Owen Turtenwald's side. And John is definitely up against it here. If he can find a bunch of 2/2s like the Knights, those can, in conjunction with the Armory Guard, can trade off for 4/4 rhinos, and he can grind his way back into this thing, but it's going to be pretty rough.
Okay. Right. Finkel gets to scavenge away that monitor.
All right, so that gives him a 5/5 with Vigilance and a 2/5, and he says, I'll attack.
Yeah, and Owen's 4/4s.
Yeah, he's actually got a very nice attack here. It's going to bring Owen down to 10. I'm assuming that Owen used his Lobber Crew there.
Yep, keep getting chipped away by that Lobber Crew. And Horncaller's chant once again. Lobber Crew pings Finkel.
Why did he do it then?
I'm not sure. I assume he's got, well, he can't really have another gold card, right, with only 1 mana on tap?
Not at instant. He could if it, he could have a Dryad Militant or a Deathrite Shaman, but that would have been on his turn. So yeah, I guess he just wanted to not forget really bad, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Rashad says he thinks he wanted to hit F6.
F6, of course, is the key in Magic Online to pass priority for your entire turn, and don't ask you if you want to respond to any spells.
That's right. All right, so we see an Azorius Justiciar for John Finkel to take out 2 of the rhinos temporarily here, and he's going to battle. He's got a Gatecreeper Vine as a follow-up.
Oh, is it because he wanted to tap out John Finkel with the... yeah, during John Finkel's upkeep, right? Ah, okay.
Okay, so there's a security blockade up for John Finkel, which is why Owen did it during his turn. He wanted to make sure that he could actually get that point of damaging, because if he waited till Finkel's turn, Finkel would be able to just prevent it using that land. So, mystery solved. Thank you, Rashad. I guess it wasn't the F6 theory after all. All right, so a Gatecreeper Vine as well for Owen. These aren't doing a whole lot at this stage in the game, although we can see that Owen's deck was pretty mana hungry.
Yep. That Horncaller's chant. The Xanakev Locust.
Yep. Reasonable cards, but very expensive to cast.
And there we go, the Thrill Kill Assassin. Lobber Crew again going to get its point in before John has the opportunity to untap. But if John has another Another Azorius Justiciar. It's going to be tough for Owen. Looks like John draws. Does not look like a awesome spell.
That is a lot of beef on that battlefield right there.
5/5 Vigilance, the Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage, facing down 3 Rhinos, and a Seller of Songbirds is the card that John drew.
And Owen still has, I believe, 2 cards left in his hand.
Well, he's going to tap 7 mana. Wow. Just more fat.
Archweaver. Owen went very deep with this build. He's basically built a ramp deck.
And
Looks
aerial
like he's got
predation.
An aerial predation for the bird?
Yeah, I think at end of turn, John wanted to activate the Azorius Guild, or the Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage.
Okay, so
Instead, he's just going to populate the knight instead of populating.
So the activate still happens, but it just means that Owen has a chance to stay alive.
My flight just got canceled.
It did indeed. I'm sorry. You want to draft tonight, or?
I'll figure it out.
That's a yes.
Ooh,
A Courser's Accord. So it looks like it's a token fight here. 4/4 Tramplers on Owen Turtenwald's side, and there is going to be a ton of Centaurs over for Jon Finkel, especially because he does have that Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage. Now, if you're just joining us, I know this board looks super complex, and it is, but there's a couple of key cards, the main one being the Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage up there, which is going to let Jon Finkel eventually create enough Centaurs to overrun Owen Turtenwald.
Izzet Charm takes out the Guildmage again.
Again, the Izzet Charm on the Guildmage, so that plan is done. The question is, does Owen actually have attacks here? He's got a 5/5 reach, trample, and he's also got the 3 4/4 tramplers there. He isn't attacking though, so apparently he doesn't have any attacks that he's happy with.
It's also really nice that the security blockade of Jon Finkel is holding off the Lobber Crew. Towering Indrik comes down for Finkel. Owen's going to use the Lobber Crew at end of turn. Finkel decides not to prevent the damage.
Well, that's interesting. All right, so I expect Owen to pass a turn back. Nothing has really changed here.
Okay, so it looks like Selesnya Charm was drawn for Jon Finkel. +2/+2 trample, 2/2 vigilance, knight, and the last ability is
now,
destroy target creature with power 5 or greater, which could work well.
I see that John didn't use it again.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Do you have a reasoning for that?
I don't want to say that he's forgetting because it's Jon Finkel.
Because it's Jon Finkel, but maybe he's just forgetting. It's a weird card, security blockade. It's easy to overlook.
But it's Jon Finkel.
He's got to have a reason, right?
Yeah.
I've learned that lesson. Is I just always assume that the players at this level have a reason for doing the things they're doing, and I'll just have to figure it out. Usually I'm pretty good about picking it off, but there's times when I miss it.
So Owen taking a look at the detention sphere. Owen's going to ping Jon Finkel, putting him down to 6. Oh, Sundering Growth on the detention sphere.
I mean, it just feels like
he's going to populate. He's going to get back his crows to Guildmage.
Wow, he populated a 4/4 Trampler too. That is insane.
And now, does Owen have enough mana to intimidate?
He's only got, I think the Thrill Kill Assassin is the only thing that could be just completely unblocked, although
he can pump it up 1, 2, 3 times. That's not quite there. But next turn, that will be enough to get through.
But John's taken like three damage off of that Lobber Crew that he could have prevented all of it.
It looks like Intimidate and +1/+1 will be given to the Archweaver.
All right, that makes it a 6/6, although currently it's just going to get blocked by a bunch of things.
+1/+1 and Intimidate to one of the Rhinos, it looks like. The one without Summoning Sickness, I'd have to assume.
Looks like Owen has his mental calculator out. He is doing a bunch of math to see if he can get in enough damage. Remember, the Archweaver and the Rhino tokens all have Trample. So even if there's some blocks, he might still be able to get in enough, and he still has that Lobber Crew activation in his pocket.
Yep. 2 5/5 trampling rhinos, 1 6/6 trampling spider. All in the red zone.
And all have intimidate. So all the white creatures you see in the middle part of Jon Finkel's board are not going to be able to jump in front.
6, 10,
now we
12 points of toughness for Jon Finkel.
Now we do know that he's got that Selesnya charm though, so that can take out the Archweaver.
Sure.
Just
you can take out any of those creatures.
That's right. Archweaver being the biggest one.
I mean, this would threaten lethal on board, right? There's no way, I don't believe, that Jon can block. I suppose that's wrong, right? He's got 12 points, and there's 14 or 16 points coming at him. So that's 4. Put Jon down to 3 life because of the security blockade.
If he uses it.
Yeah.
Remember, that Lobber crew is still active.
Sure. So Jon's thinking. Reading and rereading that Selesnya charm, seeing which one of the 3 modes he wants to use here. Make sure to finalize his blocks here.
Geek Creeper Vine is in front of one of the rhinos, and there's 2 centaurs on another rhino. Now, Owen does not have enough mana to pump one more time, I don't believe.
Yeah, it looks like Tim Ayton has chimed in. He also believes that Jon Finkel is forgetting to use the security blockade.
Okay.
The only reason why you wouldn't want to use it on the first thing every turn is if your opponent has something like Vraska tokens.
Oh, okay.
Is what he brought up on Twitter. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot
Tim.
of sense. Thanks for that.
So Finkel goes ahead and blocks. Uses Selesnya charm to get rid of the Archweaver.
It says, sure, go to damage. He's going to take, it looks like 3 damage here.
3 trample. One of the centaurs is going to die. And Jon at 3 life.
Again, he didn't use his security blockade there.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, I think he just forgot it.
And that's going to do it.
All
Owen
right.
Turtenwald.
And Owen Turtenwald takes down Jon Finkel in 2 games. And that was a pretty close one. They had a fully developed board there. There was a whole lot of things going on, but both players were able to pick apart the board state there and kind of figure it out. I wonder if Owen's telling him, hey, man, forgot about your security blockade.
So, wow, what a match.